So I've lost 7 subs in the past week. That makes me realize that nobody wants to see any non-game related videos. So first thing I'm going to do is change the channel banner to not have other media on it. I will still do very rarely other media stuff, but it'll only be stuff that I absolutely care about. And from now on, I'm going to be doing a gaming related video every Sunday, so hopefully that'll be 2 reviews a month, 1 trials video, and another random, I don't know what it's going to be, gaming video. So without further ado, let's get into this one. Ashes of Ariandel is the first DLC for Dark Souls 3. Like in any other past Dark Souls DLC, it comes with new weapons, armor sets, enemies, and bosses. After peeking at a few Steam reviews, I saw that this DLC has gotten many complaints. I'm going to see if any of those hold true while I review it myself. So to begin the journey of Ariandel, you must talk to an NPC in the Cleansing Chapel. You are then whisked away to a snow-covered realm. And I will say, I did very much enjoy the look and scenery of Ariandel. It reminded me a bit of the Dark Souls 2 Crown of the Ivory King and the Painted World of Ariamis from Dark Souls 1. In the course of playing through this DLC, I noticed many definite homages to Ariamis, like this long bridge here connecting 2 mountains with a building across the way. Come to think of it, the DLC also had some Bloodborne influence to it, especially during the boss fights, but I'll get to that in a bit. Overall, I very much enjoyed the look of Ariandel. Searching through the land of Ariandel, I found many items scattered around. Unfortunately, most were really easy to get, and too few actually took effort to retrieve. I feel like item placement was definitely lacking, as many of the cool new weapons, armor sets, and spells were either just right in front of your path, or guarded by an enemy. For instance, there was literally an archer standing on top of a weapon, as if he was meant to be guarding it. This was really dumb, and it seemed really lazy too. There was another enemy that did that too, and you just got his weapon after defeating him. Also, there was one spell just sitting in front of a bonfire. Not to mention this. And the thing is, I didn't ever have to do anything that special, or even complete the DLC itself to get it. Granted, the items were cool, but they just weren't that very interesting to find. As for the enemies, at first I didn't think they were that unique. That was until one with a spear threw his spear at me, and one spat fire at me from a torch. Just as a side note, I thought it was neat that From Software made the human-like enemies pretty much Vikings. Unfortunately, this DLC did not explore that theme anymore, but I digress. The majority of the other enemies had some pretty challenging attack patterns as well. Some attacked very fast, and others attacked slowly, but all in their own unique way. Now, there were these enemies that were like bird people, and they attacked with such swiftness and speed that it really shocked me. Those guys were certainly aggravating to fight, but in a very good way. That wasn't all. Throughout other points in the DLC, there were enemies and encounters that surprised me. Very much so, but I won't spoil those. After defeating my first batch of enemies, I knew that I was in for some wicked weapons as well. That's another great thing about Ashes of Ariandel. The new weapons were really fun to use. I especially liked the Javelin, which is the spear I mentioned earlier. Being able to use the same melee weapon as a throwable was actually something I wished before to be in this game. It was very exciting to finally see it. Overall, I liked the weapon and enemy variety, but again, I really do wish the placement of the weapons and other items had more effort put forth. Moving on, there was something the DLC was trying to put back into the game that I and many others do not like. I am referring to the platforming. Not just that, but having platforming with archers and other enemies attacking you on the way down that would otherwise cause you to fall down too far, too fast. Luckily, there was not a whole lot of that, but any amount was still unnecessary. Now for a so-so part of the DLC, the bosses. Yeah, I know, that's already tough to hear. So far, after playing 90% of the DLC, I've only encountered 2 bosses, and that's it, which is really disappointing. The 2 fights that I've been in mainly consisted of bosses that were the Avatar's size. This was another aspect that leads the DLC to be like Bloodborne. That's cool and all, but I prefer big, epic bosses to fight, and I think others agree with me. And unfortunately, the bosses were also mediocre in their design, but they were challenging to fight. Next up is the lore of Ariandel. I'm not much into the lore of Dark Souls, but I've heard other complaints about how there wasn't enough clues to lore in this DLC, and I would have to strongly disagree. I will admit, at first I didn't think there was a lot of lore in this DLC, but after watching a video by VaddyVidya, you know him for all the Dark Souls lore videos, I was definitely enlightened more, and I realized that there is plenty of lore in this DLC. I did, however, miss some important dialogue at the beginning, as I decided not to go across the bridge to the cathedral, which I could say that's a criticism on the DLC not directing me to go to the right place to get all the needed information for the lore. Overall, I thought the lore was plentiful, and I really did enjoy many of the homages to the past Dark Souls games. Oh yeah, one more thing. When you get to the end of this DLC, there's gonna be some surprises. Speaking of the end, the length of the DLC was also much complained about. Now, me being an average player's skill, I'd say that after all my dying, I've clocked in about 6 to 7 hours. Taking out my deaths, it would be about 3 hours, maybe less. Which, you know, that is really short. I remember the Dark Souls 2 Ivory King DLC taking me at least double that, with 3 bosses to boot. Well, 2 boss fights were kinda similar, but the last boss was 2 tigers instead of 1. Even so, getting to that last boss through the snow plains was scary as it was difficult. Lastly, we have the new PvP map called the Hollow Arena. I much rather prefer playing PvE, but this was something lots of people were waiting for, a proper PvP map. I believe the opinions on the PvP system are already well established, so I won't go into that. Honestly, I think that the PvP may be what this DLC is at least halfway geared toward. So, in overview, Ashes of Ariandel is a surprisingly short, but minorly sweet addition to Dark Souls 3. It has a great aesthetic appeal, with a great variety of new enemies and items. These new items are unfortunately lazily spread out like breadcrumbs in front of your path, leading to mediocre boss fights and an all too abrupt ending. In my advice, if you can't get enough Dark Souls, get it with a Season Pass. If you really enjoy PvP, then maybe get the standalone on a sale. Speaking of the purchase, the cost of the standalone DLC is seriously overpriced. Well, I enjoyed the DLC for what it was, but more effort could have been put into it. Out of 5, I'd say the Ashes of Ariandel DLC earns a 3, and I really hope From Software tries a bit harder next time, seeing how this is the last DLC pack for the last Souls game. Alright, so that'll be it for my review. Tell me what you thought of the DLC, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you're still on the fence about buying it, and please like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more videos that I'll be on every Sunday, gaming related. Alrighty, have a good one out there, and I'll talk to you all later.